Monbasa Mvita. Topic: Stories of a Teacher. I am that teacher. I would like to tell some stories. Stories of the past. Stories of what I've been urging people in East Africa and the world to follow. Stories of my dear country, Kenya. Stories of the East African community. I remember when I was a small boy, coming by train from here to Nakuru. There was a president who was dear to us. He was the first president of Kenya. Why do I say dear? He was a president who would speak with power and speak about the greatness of the African countries and of Kenya. And I liked the way he used to talk. You know, the way old men talk. There are some things he would talk we cannot finish now. So I think if you listen to his speech, many things are censored, but they used to make a lot of sense. He would talk about the idea of how independent was. The colonizer was there, and then we said about that, and then the African now was on the front. That was the late His Excellency Mzee Jomo Kenyatta. That is the national name. The man who started as a meter reader in Nairobi by the name Johnston Kamau Wangengi, our first leader, a very good man. He made us have good times because when I was a young boy, I was in a school, the school I told you, Kimathi Primary School, on the way to Lake Nakuru. He was an old man, and most of the time he would like to take relaxation. So he would go to Lake Nakuru National Park. And because our school was there, we were small boys by then. And during those days, though we were in a town school, most of us, I think all of us, even if we had shoes, you did not put on shoes. We used to go to school bare feet and walk back home bare feet. And we enjoyed it. We loved walking bare feet. We loved playing football, the one we had tied with papers, bare feet. So I would see him with a whisker, waving, and beside him in the same vehicle was his friend Mbiu Koinange. We were small children by then. And for those who remember, many of us are working now my age, we would sing songs. And when he passed, we would stand by the roadside and we would clap. And we would do the one finger salute. Harambe. And after that, when he went to Lake Nakuru, we would prepare a choir and we would go and sing inside Lake Nakuru. Beside the shore of the lake, there were flamingos, beautiful pink. We saw the wild animals and we would sing in the park near that place where he was relaxed. We would be given many good things. And then from there, because most of the time we was there, we were small children. By then, the estates were, the place was very safe. So we would again go home and prepare. At around 5, we would go back. There were lorries, these municipal tipper lorries. After they had done their job, they would be washed. And then we would go to town. We would go to some of the best hotels. We would go to Midland. By then, Midland was a hotel. It was just when the Kenya had got independence, and it was a place where you would interact with the rich Kenyans. The Europeans would be there. People from the Asian community would be there, and we would be seated there. Now, that time we put on shoes as we were going, when we were going to sing now. And eat some of the best meals in those hotels. And then we would be taken to State House Nakuru. And there were those lights shining, writing, Digira Wairegi, Digira Wairegi. And I didn't know what it meant. It was later that I got to understand it meant an elder's hat. And the nice moments we would sing, and sometimes the president of the republic would join us with his whisker. And it was amazing. You would stand next to the president, and we couldn't believe you were next to the president. I was there. I am talking about this in relation to a song by Professor J and Kwaw Kese from Ghana, a combination, a remix. The remix is called Who Be You. I would like you to download that song. Professor J and Professor J feat Kwaw Kese, title of the song, Who Be You, a remix. Those were the days when one would use the train and the prices of things never went up. And you didn't pay school fees. We used to pay, was it 20 shillings? Yes. And then when you have paid 20 shillings, you're given everything. There was the Kenya School Equipment Scheme. You're given a book, you're given a pencil, and you have lunch. If you before you go, sometimes some wheat, boiled wheat, and some good things. Those were those days. But that day when I was coming from here, it was an unfortunate day because everything was quiet. We'd come to my maternal grandmother's home, Ebwadro, and now we'd gone to Butere, and we were in the train because my dad was working with Kenya Railways, and we were each entitled to 3 tickets a year. So we were in the train and everybody was quiet, and we asked what is happening, and the radio was just singing some songs, nothing, no announcements, just, and we were told the president of the country is gone. What, gone? Go how? Because we did not believe he could go. And there was mourning, and for the first time we saw a real presidential burial. These horses carrying carriages and that, and the body was put, and people would see that, but we were watching it on TV. By then the TV was black and white. Few people had color TV. There were 2 people in the estate where we were who had TVs, not colored TV, TV, a small TV, black and white, called Neck. And it was a sad occasion. Then we had another president also, who came and brought us Nyayo. And he followed whatever he was following, and he also did a lot of what he could do to bring up the country. I was there. After that, he retired. Those the story I've told you about, and there was another president. Kenya People's Choice, because by then His Excellency wanted also to have somebody who he trusted. He had made his choice, and the Kenya people made their choice. And that was after Section 2A of the Constitution had been put, the changes, some milestones, a long distance. I told you about those things in the previous days. And we had now multi-party. And the People's Choice won that time. And we moved on, and there was the fracas that happened. I talked about that. I was there. And what happened is we had a new president who by then had been President Moi's choice, but this time the Kenyans made him their choice. I was there. Then he finished his 2 terms, and another presidential candidate stood, and Kenyans made him now their choice. I was there. We have him now. So, of the things I've been talking about, of the history I've been talking about, I relate to the past and relate to the present. It's very interesting, very humbling that the Mumias area, Ebuadro, when I came there as a small child, there are a few brick houses, but I told you the type of metal sheets they would put for those tins of aid from America, US aid and whatever, flattened. And I was a witness to seeing the first hut with proper the iron sheets we have today. That was the first. In fact, it was glittering from far. I was there. Then things came, and I went through school, and I was getting through the interest of what was happening in different religions. That time the Christians here hated the Muslims hated the Christians and the Muslims both hated the Hindus, and it gave me an interest because I was seeing the hatred that was moving around. I managed to borrow a Quran by that time. A Quran in English was rare. In fact, handling a Quran, if you told a Christian at that time you would like to get a Quran, they would say you will be cast. You are a Christian. But I got a friend who was in a Muslim university or a college in Malindi or Lamu, somewhere there. And we went to the mosque about 3 times. And he managed to get me a copy and told me the instructions to follow as I read it. So I had to go by those instructions. And I went by those instructions. By then I could not really get everything, but I had to go through, and I had a rough idea. It was not the bad book they had told me. It was a good book. I was there. I got interested in these Indian things that we hated, these things that were about demons and all those bad things you could imagine, and they did not go. And Fortunately, we had some Indian friends. That time we were staying in Eldoret. Friends of Indian origin, Kenyans, because you know Kenyan is mixed. And a brother who was in school closer to them was able to get the Bhagavad Gita from his friend who was called Babji. I was there. By then we were exchanging doves. He would give us some types of doves that had come from Pakistani, and we would exchange. I was there. I went through the changes as the economy went changing. I was there. The first, I've gone through the first coup attempt in Kenya that was very scary. I was there. But I think God was shaping me up for something. I think God may still be shaping me up for something. So, what happened? I wanted to know about life out there, of things that people talk about, and got the chance of going to the university. Went to teachers training college, that was Kericho, learned about teaching, became a teacher, and then later I had to get to know how to handle special children. I went to Nairobi. Kese, I was there. From there, I went back to Nairobi, Kenyatta. I was there. And in Kenyatta, I got an opportunity because I had taken long, I had not gone to the coast. I was able to travel to the coast. Monbasa Raha. We went there and we were able to observe many, many things that have inspired me to write about life and things that are happening. I watched the nightlives, I visited those places. The forbidden yet accessible places I also was able to visit because we were doing a geography research on effects of tourism on East Africa. So we went to the coast up to where the butterflies are bred. We came back to Monbasa. We went to Wasini. We came back to Monbasa. We were in Monbasa for about a week. And it gave me a lot of insight. And then came to Nakuru. Things happened the way they happened. I was on the run. And I ended up in Bungoma. Those stories, you have them. Then I started using music for empowerment, encouragement, because God gave me music and different visions for warfare that time. And a song by Joseph, just like Professor J is Joseph. And the other Joseph from Uganda, Chameleon. A song inspired me. And that song helped me get over some fears. It was a prayer war song for me. Later, I got this song and I kept asking myself, because it kept repeating, who be you? I was there. And I listened to the lyrics because the other one appears to be Pidgin English and Ghanaian language. I could not be able to get the words. But when I listened to the rap by Mwana Lizombe, Professor J, I got to understand. It was talking about believing in God. When you are with God, everything will work out. And I would listen to it many times. Sometimes I wonder, Mwana Lizombe, could God have given you this song or that other person to encourage me. Because most of the things I talk about are things that were there in the past, the things that are there that present, and in places I have been. It's not that I plan to talk about them that way, but they simply fall into place. Could it be that you are given an advanced vision because I saw prophecy of this situation? Or did you know or you didn't know? Because also there are some songs I'm getting, the songs that we had been forbidden. We were told that the bad songs, they're not the holy songs. So don't listen to them. But me, I used to listen to them. I loved rap from the time of breakdance. The time of Boogaloo Shrimps. Breakdance, electric boogaloo, and then that is when now we got our genge. And I loved genge. I still love genge. And that having been said, the song has given me a lot of inspirations. I've been able to approach a lot of things. I've been able to talk about a lot of changes that have happened from the past. And this song having been an inspiration, I would request people, especially the East African community, to think of the past. We had a beautiful past because fortunately, by God's grace, when Milton Obote was president, Uganda, as a small boy, Julius Nyerere was president, Tanzania, and Jomo Kenyatta was president, Kenya. We were using Kenyan money, Ugandan money. I was handling Milton Obote's shillings in Kenya. I was handling Julius Nyerere shillings in Kenya. I was handling Jomo Kenyatta shillings in Kenya. The money was being used across all the countries. In fact, you didn't need to change. If you came with the Tanzanian shilling, you bought things, it was the same value. If you came with the Ugandan shilling, you bought things, it was the same value. You would get change in all the denominations. You would get change in the Tanzanian denomination, in the Ugandan denomination, in the Kenyan denomination, wherever you were. That has been my dream. That should be our dream. I know the culprits in this thing. We Kenyans spoiled it. Let's be frank. We had other higher ideals and we did things that spoiled everything to get to our advantage. That's what happened. But it's a dream that can be resuscitated. If we work together, create trust, we can be able to come back to that. Prices of things rarely used to rise. There was nothing, these things we are calling economy, those things were not there. The price was almost constant. Things were affordable. Those are the days I was telling you, if you are sick in Nakuru, you would walk up to when I started working the first years. All you needed to do was go to the provincial hospital, queue, you'll be given a card. Then you go to see the clinic officer or whoever was, and they write. And if you have to be injected, you are injected. If there is medicine, you're given medicine. If it is a ward, you are allowed in. And when you finish, you go. We can be able to get back to that. I was there so that I could tell you, so that I can tell you of how things were, so that you don't lose that dream. We can be there again. We messed. We did whatever we did. Countries broke apart. Anger was fanned. Others saw themselves higher than others. But we can be able to relive that dream. Let the leaders of these countries, Her Excellency, Samia Suluhu Hassan, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, and His Excellency, the elder statesman in East Africa, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. If they put their heads together, I think the people of East Africa can be able to relive those dreams. I thank Professor J. Manadizombe. I don't know what was about this. Maybe a time coming or when you can be able to get something post so that I get to know what the composition was all about. But it's a time that somebody who was there can make you, can relive the dream of that time of an East Africa that was a small paradise. We can make it back. We can be there. So I'm finishing by saying, I was there. That is my take.